Get a £5 free bet every week with Offer Club from William Hill. Simply stake a total of £20 or more across the week on pre-match football accumulators with 4 or more selections, and you'll get a £5 free bet on the Friday. Join William Hill Offer Club on mobile or online now.
James Helder, IFL TV in association with Mackley's Gym Mobile. With me, I've just bumped into Tris Dixon. How are you, Tris?
I'm very well, thanks, James. Nice to see you.
I thought you gave up this boxing media lark now and were sort of off in the sunset enjoying life, mate.
I am sort of in the sunset enjoying life, but I still am involved with boxing, just not to the extent that I was as the editor of the magazine. Of
course. For those that don't know, Tris was the former editor of the Boxing News magazine and done a very good job at that.
Yeah, it was a hard job though. I did 10 years in the magazine, and the main reason behind my decision to leave was, my commute was about 2.5 hours each way each day. So about 5 hours a day I get back to play with now, which means me spending more time with my children.
What have you done other than not miss arm day since we've seen you? You're looking obviously in fantastic nick. I know you keep yourself in great shape, but what have you been doing with your sort of self and your career?
I run a gym, Stonehenge CrossFit in Salisbury. Stonehenge CrossFit,
okay.
Which is going really well. Really busy gym, doing really well, training a lot. I also work for Sky Sports now, so I do a lot of their notes and their stats for their fights.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Which I enjoy. I really always got on well with the guys at Sky. When I was the editor of the magazine, they used me for TV and the shows and stuff, which I always appreciated. And yeah, it's nice to still be involved.
Indeed. Talk to us a little bit about, we've seen you wrote a book as well. I do hope sales are going well. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I've just started a new book actually, so I'm working on a book about boxing rivalries, not your usual stereotype rivalries, but proper grudges that have been carried on into old age. So that's my 4th book. So that's due out in August, which I'm looking to sort of rekindle a little bit from the book that I did, The Road to Nowhere. So trying to get more down that path than the Mayweather path, for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about why we're here today. Golovkin, KELL BROOK. Massive fight, massive task for Kell. What are your thoughts on this fight?
I agree with you, massive task, such a big ask for KELL BROOK. I've said it before, I've always thought Kell's a special talent. I remember watching him on the undercards years ago, with Calzaghe undercards in Cardiff and stuff, and thinking Kell always stood out as an exceptional talent. There was something special about him. That was at welterweight, okay, and I see him, not only is he moving up from welterweight here to light middleweight, he's moving up to middleweight, and not only is he moving up to middleweight, but he's fighting a guy who hits like a super middle or a light heavyweight. He's fighting Golovkin. It's hard to even call Golovkin a middleweight because he's cleaned out that division so substantially. Obviously you take away the Canelo fight, but I still think he's a big winner over Canelo anyway, should they ever fight, if that ever does happen down the line. So it's not just a matter of Kell moving up 2 weight classes, it's who he's fighting. What
has Kell got to do to nullify GGG and to give himself an advantage in the fight? Tactically, how do you see that playing out?
Well, I think when you look at their strengths and weaknesses together, not that Golovkin's got many, I think the edge that Kell does have will be in the speed department. So if he's going to be able to utilise any advantage, it's going to be speed. It's just so difficult against Golovkin when you've got someone who's so clever with his feet and who cuts the ring off and is just so merciless, a guy who counter-punches off the front foot. It's very hard to use speed to get away from someone like that who's so clever and moves so intelligently. You'd be looking at a guy who's had, amateur and pro, close on 400 fights. He knows his way around every inch of the ring.
He is such a beast. A lot of fighters say this, but do you think they've been sort of beat before they got into the ring, if you buy into his bogeyman status and the fact he does hit so hard?
I think he's fought a lot of fighters. When you see guys like David Lemieux, when you see guys like Martin Murray, when you see guys like Matthew Macklin, these aren't guys who are short on self-confidence. When they get in the ring, they think they can win. The difference is when they get hit by Golovkin, and certainly, when you see, for example, Daniel Gill, when he fought Golovkin, he hit Golovkin with a good shot and was knocked out before his hands came back to defend himself. Okay, when that sort of thing happens to you, that changes your outlook on a fight. When Macklin felt Golovkin's shot to the body, that changes everything. Yeah, and I think Kell could be in for. He's talked himself into a position where he's massively self-confident, which is fantastic. But when he gets hit on the chin, will he have that same confidence? Because it's really going to suck.
how big and how much respect have you got for Kell Brook? The fact that he couldn't get a fight at 147, no one seemed to want to fight him at the elite level. Golovkin, as we know, has struggled to get them opponents. So does that make it more relevant, the fact that Kell Brook has stepped
Yeah, I mean, look, credit where it's due. You know, very few people want to fight Golovkin, which is strange now because there is a bit more money in the Golovkin game than there was, and certainly has been over the years because he's become a bigger name. But it's not just who he is; it's how he fights, and people don't want to get hurt. But credit to Kell for taking the fight, and credit to him for whipping himself into great shape and getting people talking about the fight. He's where he is because he's earned this. You know, Kell's had a long career. The last 2 or 3 years haven't gone to plan at all. Obviously, there was the incident in Tenerife, but to go away, fight Sean Porter. And don't forget, Kell's a guy who no one really wants to fight at welterweight. Kell's in a similar position at welter to where Golovkin is at middleweight, and that's kind of how this fight's come about. I'd love to have seen Kell fight Keith Thurman, to have seen him fight Danny Garcia. They haven't happened, you know, for whatever reason. I would have loved him to fight Tim Bradley and Devin Alexander 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Even the likes and emergence of Errol Spence would have been a great fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very risky fight for low reward at the moment, but there's nothing wrong with that fight happening down the line if Kell can come back and make a couple more defensive of his title. But Spence is going to be a real handful for anybody. But certainly, you know, when you think of those fights like Bradley, Alexander, and I think even Thurman and Danny Garcia, there's no reason why I wouldn't pick Kell in fights against those guys.
With the documented issues that Kell's had getting to 147, and the fact that he's had that extra stone and allow himself, I know mentally it seems like a lot to a boxer, it probably isn't that much difference into his training camp, but do you think we'll ever see him at 147 again, win or lose?
It's a good point actually, because we've seen fighters put on weight before and then they found it really hard to go back. The one that springs to mind is Roy Jones when he went up and fought John Ruiz and then went back down to light heavyweight, and he was just never the same again after that. You've seen a couple of fighters down the line put on weight, have these audacious challenges, and then they've really struggled to go back in weight. So it might be that Kell does end up nestling around the 154 mark, and if he does, there's nothing to stop him having a fight with, you know, I think the perfect fight from now, or a good fight from now, would have been Canelo at 150. You know, if he could have agreed Canelo to come down to some sort of catch weight, I think that would have made a lot of sense for both parties. I think this Golovkin fight's next level crazy.
If Kell Brook beats Golovkin, where does this rank in terms of a British win, a win for a British fighter?
It's right up there, isn't it? It's right up there. You know, it's hard. Even when you look at Lloyd Honeyghan and Don Curry, you know, at least Honeyghan was at the weight. You know, this is crazy. This is 2 weights up, so it's hard. And you know, when you look at Randy Turpin and Sugar Ray Robinson, he was a middleweight. You know, it's not like he'd gone up 2 weight classes to fight the superstar. It was hard. I can't think of anything that's even similar. So it would be bang up there. It would be top 5 without a doubt. And I think, you know, if you were his promoter or manager, you make a case for it to be the top 1 or 2.
On that note, we can't wait for the fight. Thank you very much. Good to see you and get you back on the channel again, Tris, and really do appreciate giving us some of your time.
Thanks for having me, James. Nice to see you.
£5 free bet every week with Offer Club from William Hill. Simply stake a total of £20 or more across the week on pre-match football accumulators with 4 or more selections, and you'll get a £5 free bet on the Friday. Join William Hill Offer Club on mobile or online now.